Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
All right, so basically our topic should be VPN and IPsec concepts. These are security wise. But we're going to complete the second half of the wide area network concept lecture from last week first, right? And then after that finished, then we'll continue with to today's lecture, which is VPN and IPsec. Yeah. All right, so I'll continue with the wide area network first. Right, so I believe last week we end our lecture um, uh, here. Okay, so we're going to continue with traditional wide area network connectivity. All right, so traditional means we are looking at how do we connect previously, yeah. Okay, for we'll talk about internet, right? And wide area network, right? So basically, wide area network, the traditionally because the internet was still very new, right? So a lot of companies at the time was not really making full use of the internet connectivity, right? But they do need to connect their network in a wide area because of their branches, lah, right? As as the digitization of their business process, okay, um, as part of it, right, is that they need to have a centralized database. They need to connect their, their computer systems, right, together. So they need wide area network connectivity. So let's look at the traditional way we connect remotely. Yeah? Right. So we have a couple of ways to do it last time. Okay. So we are looking at the time period during the 1980s, yeah, 1980s and onwards. Okay, obviously, local area network at that time you're really using switch network. They're using the bus network, which is the traditional bus network using coaxial cable for the local area network. Okay, so if you wanted to connect your LANs last time, okay, you either go for dedicated or switch, right? So dedicated is the older ones. Dedicated, but until now we still have lease line. But of course, the technology that we use are much faster, right? Maybe probably a lot of the lease line nowadays are using fiber optic. Last time they were using ISDN, the precursor before we have fiber optic. And it's the switch. Okay, the older switch network are the circuit switch. Circuit switch, basically physical switch or analog switch, right? So we have PSTN and SDN. These are legacy, meaning nowadays once we want to do switch network. We don't use circuit switch anymore. These are analog. Classic way. Now we are, converging into the network as we know today, where we are using packet switch network. Packet switch network basically run on networks that's using routers. Okay, so the technology and protocol used for packet switch are frame relay and FTM. All right. Okay, so if you wanted to connect your business's LAN, okay, to remotely to your maybe other sites or to your supplier or however you want to connect your LAN, okay, to make it into a wide area network, then you need to basically purchase a service with the um, ISP, lah, right? So you connect to their local loop. Local loop is basically the last mile service of the ISP. Okay, from their HQ they will pull cables lah. Okay, no matter what are you going to use lah, whether it's um copper wire or you're using fiber optic, right? They will pull much larger bandwidth capacity um, near to your area, and then you just connect to that, and then you'll be able to access into their network, and from their network connect to another local loop closer to your destination. Okay, destination site. Right. So common wide area network terminology last time is that probably a lot of times for dedicated is point-to-point lines. Okay, point-to-point lines, list lines means this is dedicated to a particular organization and not shared with other customers. So this usually rented by monthly. So this is quite expensive actually, right? These are quite expensive, but for businesses, this is one of the options, right? Okay, so of course, at that time, this kind of list line runs on top of copper media serial link as the infrastructure, right? So there are a couple of names, okay, depending on the service situated. If it's situated in North America, that means US and Canada, usually we call that a T carrier, right? So T1 link provide bandwidth up to 1.5 megabits per second, right? So you can see it's not that fast, 1.544 megabits per second is quite slow. If you want and you go up the tier to T2, T3 links support bandwidth up to 43.7 megabits per second. In Europe, this is called e-carrier. E-carrier provides links E1 from 2.048 megabits per second up to E3 links supporting 34.368 megabits per second. So you can see that because this is legacy network. So you can see last time the bandwidth is not that good for wide area network. Okay. All right. So let's look at the summarization between advantages and disadvantages. Right. So simplicity for point-to-point communication is very simple. Okay. Connect your media to one point, and then the infrastructure basically just point-to-point communication. So it's quite easy to install and also to manage or maintain it. Right. Quality-wise is good because uh, point-to-point communication usually, especially if it's leased line, it will be restricted to that particular organization, so they have the full capacity of the bandwidth, okay, all to themselves, right? So quality-wise, you don't have to share, so you can have a guaranteed speed, right? Whereas if it's shared, the bandwidth goes up and down depending on what is the peak hours lah. That means what is the peak hours when most customers will share the line compared to low peak hours when they're not using the line. But then again, it's go up and down, the quality of in terms of speed, right? But for this line, okay, point-to-point this line, because it's only for your organization, then it's fixed. That means you have a guaranteed bandwidth quality, right? So availability, again, it's because of easy to maintain. It's quite stable, right? So it's quite stable. It's permanently for you. It's dedicated because this line. So you are able to use it for mission critical system like e-commerce, and also provision for VoIP, with voice over IP or video over IP, right? That's the advantage of this line, right? You can guarantee, basically, when you can guarantee the bandwidth, you can then guarantee the for communication like VoIP and video over IP, right? Disadvantage is that I mentioned earlier on is quite expensive, right? Point-to-point link, list line, because they for that particular infrastructure, the ISP will not be means dedicated to you as a customer, no other customer to share the cost, right, for that particular line. So you will have to bear the cost of that line, right? So there's if it's sharing, that means more people will be sharing that line, then the costs can be can be spread, right? But if that line is dedicated to one organization only, then that particular organization will have to bear the full cost. So that can become very expensive, right? Now, if you have only one site connecting to one site, then yes, you pay for that cost. But when you scale the connectivity, when you need to scale to additional site or sites, then the cost accumulates, right? So you can see here the lease line solution can become the cost of it can become very significant. Okay, when you have more and more sites to link to, and also the distance get greater and greater, right? Okay, so in terms of flexibility, because the lease line has a fixed capacity, so when you say I'm purchasing this lease line, this service is maximum 10 megabits per second, that's what you get. It's a fixed capacity, right? So, but your needs as a business go up and down. So even though when your needs in terms of usage, usage on the bandwidth usage is low, okay, you still pay for the full fixed capacity. And if your needs go up, then you're still limited to that fixed capacity unless you upgrade to a higher capacity. So your needs might change, okay, vary, especially when you're dealing with e-commerce. E-commerce, sometimes you know there are so many people trying to buy your products, e-commerce, right? But then there will be also time when there are less customers, right? So there's no flexibility in terms of if you need the bandwidth, then you can adjust the bandwidth to go up higher. Maybe just pay for the additional bandwidth. Um, or if you're not using the bandwidth to full capacity, maybe you should pay just the capacity that you actually using. But no, right? It's usually a fixed capacity, fixed payment, monthly payment, right? So the bandwidth of the line seldom match the need of the organization exactly. It does not follow. It's not elastic, right? Not variable. It's fixed. So that's a disadvantage. Okay. Right. So that's the explanation for this part dedicated on this line. So let's have a look at circuit switch option. So there are two types, right? For circuit switch option, one is PSTN. PSTN is basically the traditional public service telephone network. So this is carrying. It was meant. This infrastructure is meant to carry voice, right? But we're using it. That means the ISP is using the current um, communication infrastructure to carry uh, your uh, your network data, right? So usually it's implemented using copper media. Okay, so this public service telephone network, it will carry analog signal. So your computer will generate digital signal, right? And the receiver, the destination is also a computer, also expecting digital signal, but the infrastructure to carry the communication between the sender and destination, right, is analog. So that means you need to have a modem, a modulator, demodulator, right? So that modem allows conversion of digital signal to analog signal, and then the analog signal will be carried via the copper media using the public service telephone network. And once it reaches the other end, that analog signal will be converted back, okay, to digital signal. Okay, the modem is able to modulate it back to digital so that the computer is able to understand the message, right? So this is the old and obsolete way of trying to connect to the in to the to the wide area network or to the internet. So the speed basically uh, can reach up to only 56 kbps with encryption, right? You might not encryption, sorry, with compression. Compression allows you to reduce the size of the data to be transferred. So with compression, you might get more capacity lah. Okay, the limitation is basically the rate will be bandwidth will be 56 kbps, but the amount of data you can send through, maybe you can close to double size by doing compression lah, right? But this was the traditional way to connect to the internet. The other way is a digital. That means fully digital from your computer through the cable, the infrastructure, also digital. Okay, all the devices in between, the ISP devices in between, also fully digital, all the way to destination. So this is the ISDN, Integrated Services Digital Network. So you can see here the name digital, indicating that end to end will be digital signal, right? So there's no need to convert between analog to digital, sorry, digital to analog to digital, right? Here is full digital. Okay, so this one is able to provide higher speed from 45 kbps to 2 megabits per second, around about. But again, of course, comparing the two, this one is more expensive. So usually businesses go for ISDN, whereas small businesses or public consumer will go for this one, PSTN. Right. So the other type of circuit switch network is packet switch, right? So packet switch, you can imagine very similar to this packet. Basically, is a PDU, very similar to the PDU that we keep talking about when we are forwarding using router. Yeah. Okay. So the modern type is using router. The last time the technology, the protocol used is something called frame relay. So frame relay basically is to relay the frame. So of course from LAN, your frame is relayed to a different network. So that means it's encapsulated. So it's an older way of trying to forward your message, your basically your frame over the wide area network. Okay. Another type is the asynchronous transfer mode, or ATM, and this one is a little bit more capable. It's able to do transfer of voice, video, and data via private and public networks. So it's based on cell-based architecture rather than frame-based architecture. right? So, but nowadays it's replaced by metro. Okay, we'll look into the next section where we look at modern wide area network connectivity, where we have metro Ethernet. So you can try to go to the TMNet website. You look at the services provided for businesses. You'll see some of the services are based on metro. So they will actually say metro, yeah, metro service. Okay, so knowing the traditional connectivity, let's look at the more modern connectivity. Right, so modern wide area networks have more options, right? Okay, it's due to the fact that organization need faster and faster bandwidth. You can see the examples from the previous section, right? Whereby the maximum would go up to 2 megabits per second. It's not enough here, not enough um, the bandwidth, right? So you can see that slowly it's been replaced nowadays. In fact, in Malaysia, I think you still can get ISDN, but as a service, but usually companies use them as a backup option. ISDN as backup option rather than the main offering. Okay, so at least is a your network become fault tolerant. You don't depend on a particular technology. If one technology falls down, your backup will be another technology, right? Right. So as you can see here, traditional wide area network connectivity options rapidly decline in use, meaning it's not very popular. Businesses not moving towards them anymore because one, either they've been discontinued by the ISP itself. Two, they are too expensive, cannot scale, right? Cannot scale. Like the lease line cannot scale. Becomes too expensive. You're multi-site using this line for all the multi-sites too expensive. And this one actually is the more critical reason, right? Even if it's available, because of the limited bandwidth, um, organization now require more and more because of the functionality and availability of today's application networks requirement. The slow bandwidth is no longer attractive, right? So before we move on to the next slide, just look at this topology. In this topology, it shows local loop connections that you might see, okay, nowadays, right? So, for example, in our campus, we will see this, right, optical converter, because we're using optical fiber. Our list line, the list line is still there, but the technology to enable it's different already, right? So you'll see in our server room the optical converter, optical fiber, right? For normal public consumer, you will see this as the Unify, the way you connect to the ISP using optical cable Unify, right? This one's still available, but I just read the other day that TMNet is pulling the service out, okay, sunsetting this service, the ADSL service, right? They're no longer offering ADSL, but I think for uh, certain places they may where they still have customers, they're probably still considering that, but new customers, they're not no longer offering for new customers. You either go for this, I think you have to go for this optical or use cellular. Cellular basically are those tradition those box, those box you buy from your ISP, like DG, Maxis. So you have now there's no more 3G, right? 4G, and then 4G card inside. Then you can access the internet using cellular modem, right? Wireless access, wireless Wi-Fi, WiMAX, all this, right? There are certain ways Now there's certain places where you can get like access to internet by using wireless access. Satellite communication for out of reach places, no infrastructure. So you use satellite, like in the for example, in the middle of jungle or in the middle of island or top of the mountain or some places that is inaccessible using traditional infrastructure, then you'll use satellite. Cable here is not as popular as I think in Western country, especially in North America like US, right? But I think certain areas, okay, depending on the company that provide connectivity to internet using cable, certain areas maybe in Klang area do have cable. Last time they tried to penetrate, but it's very difficult because you need to provide the infrastructure. So urban area may be easier to recover back the investment on providing the infrastructure for cable, okay, because you have lots of subscriber, right? But usually, typically, you will be using a DSL because a DSL using traditional telephone line, so the infrastructure is already there. But more and more people are leaving this behind because this is too slow. We're moving towards this, right? Now the thing is, how about areas where do not have Unify? Usually we'll go for the cellular using 5G. 5G speed is um, next gen speed, right? And it's being trialed in West Malaysia, especially in the urban center like KL. So, um, so I think in the future we'll have these two main way to connect to the internet. So using optical fiber and also using 5G. Okay. All right. So modern wide area network connectivity options. We have dedicated using broadband, dark fiber, switch nowadays, packet switch using routers, so internet wide area network. Okay. ISPs implement NPLS. You can see later. And then you have the internet-based broadband VPN for site-to-site connectivity. You need to provide virtual private network. Like it's topic of the next chapter. This is to enable to secure your communication because your communication will travel through um, shared network. Okay, so it's susceptible to man-in-the-middle attack, right? So in order to secure it, you need some form of VPN implementation, right? So for internet-based wide area network, okay, you have two, wired or wireless. Okay, so under wired, I mentioned before, it could X here means it could be asymmetric or symmetrical or asymmetric. Okay, so a DSL is asymmetric, DSL is symmetric, meaning the speed download and upload the same for DSL. And DSL means it's not the same. So download usually is faster than upload. Then we have cable, not so popular here. And optical fiber, example will be Unify, right? Okay, so these are shared because internet based. Okay, dedicated is this line uh, dedicated to a particular company. So company will pay more, right, to have a guaranteed, uh, you know, bandwidth. Okay, and then we have switch, packet switch. Nowadays, instead of frame relay or ATM, using Ethernet wide area network (MPLS), right? And similarly, we can also subscribe to Metro Ethernet. Okay, Ethernet area network is implementation of Metro Ethernet. Okay, so how to access internet for wireless? Municipal Wi-Fi means it's open Wi-Fi provided in an area. Municipal usually means region or district. So, one of the implementation that we can see that's free for us is the uh, the free Wi-Fi government effort to provide villages with free Wi-Fi, open Wi-Fi, right? Cellular means using 4G, soon 5G, satellite internet. You basically so places where there's no infrastructure. WiMAX usually up to a few kilometers distance you can connect. It's as if you connect to Wi-Fi, but actually it's the range is further, right? I think services like P1 last time, but also didn't really picked up. Okay, I'm not sure why. Because I think because of the reach is not that good. Okay, so let's look at Ethernet wide area network. Okay, so we have metropolitan Ethernet, Metro E, Ethernet over MPLS, and virtual private LAN service. So these protocols or standards are used by the ISP, right? So as an organization or client, you hardly ever need to do anything on this, but these are done by the ISP for you, okay, to use this kind of protocols, lah, right? So Ethernet WAN, why we want to use that? Because reduce expenses and administration, easy integration with existing networks, and enhance business productivity. All right. So basically, these are the configuration for Metro Ethernet. Let me see whether I can CTM map Metro. Oh, you can see there is one here. Okay, Metro Ethernet. Okay, so I'm not sure how much. Let me see. I think you will have to get in touch with them to get the quotation, right? So you can see it's for business. Prices shown, but there's no price here. Yeah, although it says prices shown includes 6% GST, but I think you need to get a quotation directly from them. Right, so this is one example of ISP, yeah, okay, that provide Metro Ethernet. Okay, Metro Ethernet. Okay, right. So MPLS is also popular with as a way to provide wide area network connectivity from the ISP point of view, right? The thing is that this kind of technology supports different access method, whether it's Ethernet, DSL, or cable or frame relay, right? So once it goes into once your traffic goes into MPLS, okay, within the ISP's networks, right, it is able to encapsulate whatever traffic, okay, whether you're using IPv4 or IPv6 altogether, MPLS is going to encapsulate, right? So within the MPLS of what area network routing of the ISP, okay, the IPv4 is transported transparent lah, right? So it encapsulate, this one means IPv4 is the data of the MPLS packet, right? So MPLS router can be a customer edge router. Yeah, here. So that means customers will connect to that customer edge router. And then you got the provider edge router, and then an internal provider router. So all this basically inside the cloud means from the customer point of view, they don't see this part now. Okay. right? So MPLS router works as a label switch routers. They attach labels to packets that are then used by other MPLS routers to power traffic, right? So services that are provided by MPLS are quality of service support, traffic engineering, redundancies, and VPNs, right? We'll see MPLS again in terms of VPNs later, okay? It is able to provide the encryption, okay? Encryption so that the traffic cannot be seen, right? Okay, so next section is internet-based connectivity, right? So this one is the one that we are, familiarized with. Okay, so if you're a smaller business, usually, or if you're a public consumer, you normally connect to the internet or to connect via the internet to your remote site using basically just the internet. That means if as long as you have you purchase a service with the ISP that allows you to access the internet, then you can access your remote site, right? Okay, the only thing that you need to do is to ensure the communication over the internet is secure by using VPN, right? So this one, of course, definitely will be shared. Whatever infrastructure, it will be shared, right? Shared with other consumer. So when you connect to local loop, other consumers also connect to local loop, you'll be sharing the same uh, bandwidth, right? So traffic is very variable depending on the number of customers connected and sharing the same bandwidth with you, right? So we have two options, wired or wireless. I mentioned earlier on, okay, municipal, basically a district, a city, and all this, right? They provide Wi-Fi. Uh, so one of the example is our village Wi-Fi, okay, kampung jalur, something like that, provided by the government. And cellular means 4G, 5G, and then we have satellite and WiMAX. Wired, basically ADSL, which is using the public telephone switch network, but in digital form. Okay, and cable, not so popular here, and optical fiber like Unify, right? So you can see the VPN here is shown because internet is not secure. So if you want to use the internet as a way for you to connect to your remote site, you have to consider virtual private network. Okay. Right. So DSL. DSL is acronym for digital subscriber line. Right. So either you have symmetric or asymmetric. Asymmetric means different speed for upload and download. Symmetric means the same. Right. So you can see ADSL is higher downstream means downloading rather than uploading. Okay, so if you want to run your own server, ADSL is not suitable. If you wanna have your own server so that your upload, because user upload is more important because user will try to connect to your web service, including web server, means it's upload speed. So you might want to consider symmetric DSL. Okay, if you want to host your own server lah. But usually nowadays we go for cloud solution, right? So we store our server, our service on the cloud. Therefore, the cloud service provider, they have very good bandwidth, so much better than what we can actually provide ourselves. Okay. Right. So DSL transfer rates are dependent on the actual length of the local loop. Means the local loop is you pull a cable from the ISP's center all the way close to the customer's location. Right. That's the local loop. So that from the customer point of view, all the customers in the same area, okay, within the same roughly within the distance. Will then connect to the local loop, and then the local loop will share bandwidth, okay, to the ISP. Okay, like this, right? So at home, you might have a DSL modem or DSL modem, right? And then this one connects to the telephone line, right? And then DSL access multiplexer multiplex different consumers or clients traffic. Okay, you can see there. This LAN is located at the central office of the provider and construct connections from multiple DSL subscriber. So as far as possible, from when you connect to the local loop, your connection to that DSLAM is separate. You can see a point to point. But once it reaches DSLAM, then it aggregates all the connection into one single shed, right? So from the local loop all the way to the office of the ISP where they have their servers, then that is shared. But from your own house to that particular DSLAM, means it's dedicated lah. It's your line. So another house probably will have their own direct connection to the DSLAM, right? So depending the DSLAM, sometimes the technician will tell you, oh, how many ports they have, or if there's ports available, it will be at the DSLAM, right? The DSLAM here, the capacity. All right. Okay, so ISP use PPP. You look inside your all-in-one router. Okay, you'll see that the connectivity between your router to ISP is PPP, right? Or point-to-point protocol. Okay, and first thing is you will need to authenticate yourself to the ISP. That's the authentication of subscriber. That you key in your assigned username and password, right? And then you connect, you authenticated, then the line becomes available, right? And then PPP can assign the public IPv4 address to the subscriber, right? PPP also provides link quality management, right? So PPP can be, managed in two ways, okay? Host with PPOE, that means point-to-point protocol, but using Ethernet, right? Ethernet frames, okay? So PPP over Ethernet. So Ethernet protocols is used even though it's a point-to-point protocol. So from your house to that DSLAM is PPP over Ethernet, right? So this technique, host with PPOE client, the PPOE client software communicates with DSL modem using the PPOE, right? And then the modem communicates with the ISP using PPP. Or you have a router, okay? You have a router PPOE client, then the router is the PPOE client. So either is direct PPOE client to the ISP, or your router is the PPOE client, right? And usually it's DHCP to get the configuration from the provider. Obviously, the router does not need the information, but of course, your product is all in one, okay? All in one. So the router is there, the switch is there, the modem is there, and your access point for wireless access also is there. So here you can see how it's encapsulated. The Ethernet simply means a frame, I think. And then we got the PPP and the IP packet, right? Send via the DSL modem, and IP packet is encapsulated in the PPP. Arrive at the DSLAM, right? Either you use PSTN or internet connectivity, right, to reach there, right? So the second method is this one. We have a router instead of DSL modem. We have router, direct router, no modem is used. The router itself is a client. So there's no PPP here, only starting from here. Here, you have to actually run software, the client PPPoE software. Goes to DSL modem, then DSL modem continue. Here, just Internet and IP packet as normal connectivity, the traditional way lah. There's no PPA header yet. So because the router provide the PPoE client, then it's the router that's going to put in the PPP header. Okay, and then it goes to the modem and goes out. Okay. So cable technology, as I mentioned before, seldom we got this one. The cable is when you reach your house, when you look at the cable, you notice that it's a coaxial line. If you still recall, last time in FCN we talked about different types of media. Coaxial line is a cable that with this in the center you got a thicker copper wire. Okay, and then let me just give an example. Coaxial. How it looks like. So looks like this one, coaxial. Okay, center copper wire very thick. Then you have copper mesh. Okay, so the current flows between this and this to provide the AC rather than DC. Okay. All right. So cable technology use that. You can see here coaxial line. So you have a cable modem, right? This cable modem. Of course, after the cable modem, you have your router, your switch, and whatever, right? But you have a cable modem. Then you have optical mode, optical fiber. That's why the cable modem is able to multiplex both your internet data communication, and for most of the service provider, they also provide um, TV television channels. Okay, right. So that means you either go for our choices in Malaysia, we have Astro, right? But cable modem can you can actually subscribe to television channel using cable as well. Okay, there's enough capacity there because at the uh, end, okay, from the optical node to the ISP, actually they use optical fiber to provide multiplexing to when it's capacity of higher bandwidth. Okay. Right. So cable technology is high speed, always on connection technology that use coaxial cable from the cable company to provide IP services to users. It's always on. No need to log to you know no need for the modem to dial up to into the ISP, right? So the data over cable service interface specification, or DOCSIS, is the international standard for adding high bandwidth data to an existing cable system. So traditionally, the cable system is carrying television programs, but um, it is configured to carry also internet data or wide area network communication. Okay, so here the optical node converts the RF radio frequency signals to running on the coaxial line to light pulse to so that it can go over the fiber optic cable, right? This is local loop. Local loop. It's local. It means closer to the home of the consumer. But then from the optical node to this one is the long distance. So we already know that coaxial line without repeaters can degrade over distance the signal. So that's why using optical fiber. Public switch telephone network, basically at every other distance, there will be a way for them to increase the signal. Okay, that means boost up the signal for PSTN method. Right, for cable, in fact, from the local loop to ISP is optical fiber. Okay, right. So now we look at optical fiber. The direct one, this one is at the local loop is coaxial already cable. Okay, only the backbone here from that means the long distance from optical node to ISP is optical fiber. But for optical fiber itself means it reach from local loop reach to the home like unifier from the local loop all the way to the home is also optical fiber. Is direct to the consumer home. See, fiber reach the boundary of the residence, fiber to home. Or if you're a business, then fiber to building. Once you reach the building, up to the organization to provide their own connectivity within the building. That's the boundary between what the ISP provide, which is to access to get the fiber to reach the building, right? And then inside the building is up to the what organization to set up their own network, right? Or fiber to node or neighborhood. So this is like taman, for example. Okay, the fiber go to the taman. The taman has its own method to distribute the bandwidth. Maybe it's coaxial, right? Okay, so sometimes for the unifier fiber to home, you have to from the point of view of the TMNet, they'll provide the fiber to the outside your house lah, outside your house, maybe to the outside wall. Okay, then if you need the fiber to be, you know, because inside your house, you want to say, oh, I want it to go to first floor, I want it to go to ground floor, second floor, whatever the further wiring inside the house, yeah, for the fiber, then that one you need to arrange with the installer. Okay, the technician that is doing, you know, contracted to install the unifier, then you have to ask them to, then they usually charge additional fee lah. But depending, if you check if there's a promotion, maybe the TMNet is going to absorb the cost. If no promotion, sometimes you have to pay extra to the installer. Okay, that's inside the house already, right? Inside the house. So usually what the cost is installation usually free if you're a new subscriber to the ISP. So the ISP will only cover up to the outside wall, the fiber to home outside wall. Then that's the boundary of your residence. So if inside, then you have to you know, arrange a separate installation fee, right? So optical fiber. And then we have wireless internet-based broadband. Wireless, I mentioned before, musical, Wi-Fi, right? These are also district or areas lah, right? So this is basically subsidized by the government. Okay, so they are open Wi-Fi. But I think even the one for the open Wi-Fi project for Malaysia, if you want to connect, you have to provide your MyCard as your access, right? Once you provide your MyCard, then you can log in. And I have to say that the bandwidth is not that good. Second, there are too many people trying to connect. Third, the access point is not it's like one for one location, so it's very difficult to connect to it, right? As you know, Wi-Fi, the access point, there's a limitation because we already know CDMA as collision avoidance, right? So only one client can connect at any one time for Wi-Fi. So that limits the bandwidth because if there's so many client competing to use the Wi-Fi access point, then you'll see some delay there, right? Another way is cellular. This is where we have 4G. 3G is already in preparation for 5G. Government already not sure. I think no more 3G. So now it's 4G plus 5G in certain places where they are testing the technology, right? So but it's phase uh, what lah um, phase installation for this 5G, right? So this is getting the to the wide area network or internet via cellular technology. Then we have satellite internet for inaccessible place where they don't have any infrastructure, right? So remote location. Okay, so you connect a router to the satellite dish and it's point. This one is directed, or you have to adjust your satellite dish so that it can have a direct line to satellite in orbit. Okay, so you need to know where is the satellite, and then point it or to the satellite, and then and the connection is reliant on the weather, right? Weather and anything blocking. It's a line of sight actually. A line of sight. If anything substantial blocking the path, then the signal may be very bad. Okay, and if you have bad weather, this can also affect affect the signal. Okay, then WiMAX, okay, is basically something like Wi-Fi but for longer distance. As I mentioned before, there were a few service provider try to use WiMAX, okay, to create to cater for different segment of the market, but I'm not sure whether it's popular or not because they reach even though several kilometers, okay, but based on the population density, not many customers are able to make full use of the WiMAX because after when you reach the boundary of the WiMAX, range, then after that you cannot access anymore. Okay, unless they do the infrastructure, they extend the WiMAX. Okay, but when they reach the boundary, extend with another WiMAX access point, then perhaps, right? But it's quite expensive to lay out your own infrastructure. Okay, so far, all right or not? You guys following?
Okay.
Okay, Noel. Calvin and Farah? Okay, press up, Vivian. Okay or not?
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you. Right, so we move on to VPN technology. So VPN basically a virtual private network. So you're trying to emulate, LAN is quite secure. LAN is quite secure because physically, right, a LAN is can be secured because it's a small network, all right? So it's within a room, a building, a floor, which you can physically secure. So because it's you cannot access unless you plug in into the switch that creates that LAN. So it's quite secure actually, right? But once it leaves the router, your gateway router, and your traffic goes into the internet, is now unsecured because it's outside your network and maybe remote. It goes through places where um, other people can have access to the traffic, your traffic, right? So your traffic is vulnerable to be viewed by others. Yeah. So you want to you encrypt it. So the moment you encrypt your traffic, okay, logically, yeah, when you do communicate using VPN encryption with another remote site, a remote host, it's as if that remote host is within your own LAN. So this is the idea. The VPN wants to logically recreate your private network in your LAN. Because your LAN is your private network. Okay. So even though your communication between your LAN to another LAN is over the internet, the capability of the VPN to encrypt communication means it's as if the remote computer, remote host, remote LAN is actually private to you. But this privacy is over remote, over the internet. The only reason why it's secure is because communication is encrypted. So it is still private network because other is essentially because of the encryption, other people cannot access your traffic. So it is effectively a private network, but it is not physical private network, similar to your physical LAN. It is actually a virtual private network. Okay, right. So benefits to using VPN, you can see there cost saving because you don't have to opt for dedicated wide area network links, right? You just access the internet, and VPN is implemented in software mostly, so it's cheaper. Okay, it's secure because of encryption and authentication, right? Preventing unauthorized access, so it's secure. Okay, and it's scalable. If you, no matter how many remote hosts you want to connect to, as long as it's reachable via internet, then it's basically just the other party just run a VPN client or server, then you can connect. So it's scalable. It's highly scalable, right? Okay. Anyone who just want to connect remotely to your basically, let's say your private, physical private local area network, your company, right, corporate network, and he wants to connect that, maybe working remotely like during pandemic, work from home, it's okay because you encrypt it, right? So it doesn't matter how many, 100, 1000, as long as your bandwidth capacity, when you connect to the internet is available and sufficient, then it's scalable. It's compatible with broadband technology. So whether it's using traditional fiber optic or wired, right? It's also compatible with wireless, okay, wireless access. So you have two ways to implement VPN. One is site to site. Okay, site to site means headquarters and branch. It's a site to site. So usually for site to site VPN, the VPN settings is set inside the router. So the router, between the router and the other remote router, and of course in between there's so many intermediate devices. But you can imagine the VPN is created by the one side router with the other side router. Okay, so maybe the communication from inside the LAN is all unencrypted because private networks is secure, so you're confident lah, right? So none of the hosts, for site to site, none of the hosts is actually using any sort of VPN client software. Okay, for them, just communicate through the gateway router. Okay, the VPN configuration is done on the gateway router. So the gateway router for this LAN and the gateway router for the remote LAN is the one that's going to create a VPN network. Okay, they are the ones that are going to configure the VPN security. So the user are unaware, but even though they're unaware, their communication when it leaves the gateway router is secure. So that's site-to-site VPN. The other type is the more common one, remote access. So you, as a user, you decide you need to run that VPN client, right? So one of the most common implementation is, for example, the web server and the web browser. So the VPN connectivity is enabled between the browser by simply by using HTTPS, right? So this is built in into the web browser client. Okay, another way is you run your own VPN software. Okay, when you run your own VPN software, you can download many, yeah, the VPN client software. Then your VPN client software will connect to VPN server software. Usually, VPN server software is situated at the corporate private network, right? And you, as the remote user, you work from home, you run your VPN client software, and you connect to that VPN server software. Then after that, you can access your um, remote corporate network as if you are within the building itself, right? All right, we'll talk more about the VPN later. Um, so let's look at ISP connectivity options. There are different ways you want to connect to ISP depending on your needs and, of course, more importantly, your budget. Okay, right. Single home means this is the normally the way we think about how clients connect to ISP. Okay, one connection, right? This is cheap, lah. One connection. You just pay for this basic one connection link. But problem is no redundancy. If this connection is down, then no connectivity between client and ISP. So if you want to provide redundancy and secondary load balancing, means you purchase another link. So then your load not only is like shared between the two links, but there's a sense of redundant link. So probability of any one link going down, bringing down the network is half, 50%. Here is 100%. If this is connectivity loss here, then 100% no access. Here, two, right? So if one link goes down, then you have 50% capacity, right? Now, this only protects against fault in the communication infrastructure. Okay, what this one cannot handle is if the ISP itself has an outage. It is possible. ISP can be down. The servers here can be down. So no matter how many links you have here, doesn't affect anything because you'll still be down entirely because your ISP is down, right? So much better solution is you have two lines or more, okay, depending on your budget, but two different ISPs. But for each ISP communication, you still suffer from no redundancy. So the last part here, dual multi-home, means you have two ISPs. So the outage of one ISP doesn't affect you because you have another ISP. So these two are different ISPs. So different way for your network traffic to go via. And each ISP you have more than one link, so to provide redundancy. So your redundancy is twice. The link itself is got redundant link, and your ISP also you got redundant ISP. But from the point of cost, this one is most expensive. Okay, if you want more, then you can have another dual to another third ISP. Again, you increase your cost. But in terms of fault tolerance, this option is the best fault tolerance of all, because not only you provide redundancy for the link between yourself and the ISP, but you have alternate ISP. Just in case one of the ISP experience an outage, right? All right, so broadband solution comparison. Each broadband solution have pros and cons, its advantages and disadvantage, right? So if you have to choose, okay, because you're tasked into providing internet connectivity or wide area network connectivity to your company, so you have to choose, right? If you have multiple options, you have to choose. So you have to do a matrix. You have to do a comparison table in terms of cost versus benefit, right? At the end of the day, you want cheap, but you will also want the safety, okay, the fault tolerance. So you have to see among all the solution, which one is the best solution for me in terms of the benefit, the value versus the price I pay, right? So when you do that, some factors that you have to consider. If you are using cable as a way to connect to wide area network or internet, know that the bandwidth is shared by many users. So upstream data rates are often slow during peak hours, high usage hours, peak hours with oversubscription, right? Sometimes oversubscription means, all right, the capacity meant to be for 10 people, but in that area, you have 20. So the ISP still, well, want to maximize the profit. So they oversubscribe. 10 becomes 15 or 20. So of course, at the peak, worst case scenario, at the peak hours of usage, all 20 will be connected at the same time. So when it's oversubscribed, means the resulting remaining bandwidth is shared by all these customers. The same time will be so low. It means it suffers like your bandwidth suffers. Okay, okay, Bob. So let's say you go for ADSL solution. We don't. I'm not sure we have DSL, but I know we have ADSL, right? So DSL basically is limited. You can, no matter what, there's no such thing as high speed DSL like 30. I think 30 is still not achievable. I think 8 to 10 megabits per second is the most that ADSL can provide. So limited bandwidth. And it's also distance sensitive. If you are at the edge of the local loop distance, right, then you probably just num only the speed, and then that's it. They can't even give you at megabits per second. They say, oh, you're only able to have 4 megabits per second, or even further range than that. Then they might not even able to offer you at 4 megabits, maybe 2 megabits per second only. You are right at the edge of the the what do you call this distance, right? And sometimes ADSL means you don't have symmetric upload download speed. One of the speed is slower than the other. That's why it's ADSL asymmetric. Okay. How about fiber to home? Right? Fiber to home, it says here option requires fiber installation directly to home. So it's okay because Unify, usually when you subscribe to the service, the installation, fiber installation to outside of your home is usually free, right? So fiber to home. And then you have cellular and mobile. For cellular, coverage is problem, right? And different ISP has different coverage issue, right? So Maxis is very, very good, but usually around urban area. So you go to rural area, Maxis or even DG also the coverage is bad. So for rural areas, like for example, Celcom is better, okay? But at urban area, usually ISP like Maxis, they're able to give you higher bandwidth. So it depends, right? Okay, coverage is an issue. If at your location, the tower, the cell tower is blocked to you, then definitely your signal will be low, and then definitely your bandwidth will be low. Municipal Wi-Fi, I think most people nowadays know is very, 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 very slow, right? Because it's not mesh. It's like access point and everybody try to connect. Mesh is better because you connect to a specific mesh network and the coverage is better, right? So if you have mesh deployed, okay, then it's a good option. Okay, but I don't think our municipal Wi-Fi is actually mesh. It's a mesh network, right? So it's not really viable to use because it's so slow. So many people try to connect to it because free Wi-Fi, right? Okay, and it's not mesh, so it's we are competing to connect to the access point. Finally, satellite. This is expensive. Satellite definitely expensive, and capacity per subscriber is also low. But one thing that satellite has is the availability is quite good, even with places where there is no infrastructure, right? For example, on an island, you don't have or any of this. Okay, but as long as you have clear path to the sky and then satellite dish, sky means the satellite in orbit lah. Huh? You point to it, then you can get the internet already. Okay, so satellite option is actually um, is the last option. Is the only option sometimes that you have. Okay, so when that is the issue, you don't even have to compare this because these are not available, right? For example, you go to an island, you want this, no, you want this, not available, not available, not available, not available. The only one available. Sometimes and sometimes you have to just buy the bullet. Okay, I have to use satellite, right? Okay, any question? I think we've reached the end of our lecture for wide area network. So before we end this part, we go to the next part, which is the next chapter. Any question?
No.
No question.
Is there any packet tracer for this chapter?
Sorry.
Is there any packet tracer?
Um, possibly. Possibly.
Oh,
Let me check. Yeah. Let me just also stop recording first. So it should be, yeah. This one is VPN. This one packet tracer wide area network concept. So there should be,
no.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah. Research broadband. I think research broadband internet access technologies is where you have to do something lah, right? We have to look at it later. But packet tracer, yeah, this one 761. Okay, packet tracer. All right, so let's go for quick 5 minutes break before we start on the next chapter. Is that all right? Have a drink or go to
Okay.
the loo. All right,
Okay.
5 minutes, yeah. So about two. So now it's 2:28. So 2:30, 35 lah. 35 is what next chapter.
Okay.
All right, welcome back. You guys there?
Oh yeah.
Ah, yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, so we continue the topic of security here. Chapter 8 is about security, but it's implemented using VPN and IPsec. All right, so VPN, just now we talked a little bit about VPN, right? Even though we have a wide area network, and the path through the wide area network is via the internet, okay, which is actually quite a hostile environment. So we talk about using VPN to create a virtual private network, okay, using encryption, yeah. Right. So in this chapter, we're going to look at VPN technology in particular, right, and then the types of VPNs available and IP security. So IPsec, right? So this IPsec framework, how is it used to secure our network traffic? All right. So virtual private network. Um, Let me just summarize lah. This virtual private network is actually utilizing encryption. This encryption, later we'll see what kind of encryption is used to provide this encryption. Why is it so secure? Basically, it's a way for us to prevent anybody from looking inside the PDU. Remember the video? Video, you can use Wireshark to capture any traffic, right? So when you use Wireshark to capture any traffic, you can actually go into any layer, okay, and view at the data of that particular PDU in that particular layer. Okay, so a way to prevent that is to scramble the data part, right? So the content of the data is scrambled, is encrypted, right? So if in order to view the content without the encryption, that means you have to decrypt, right? If you need to decrypt, basically you need to provide a key. The key is part of the parameter to pass as the decryption function. If you're the key, then the encrypted message or data will be converted back to the original data. Without the key, you cannot decrypt. Therefore, it's as if it's very secure. It's as if you cannot view anything. Even if you capture it, you view it, you cannot view, then nothing you can do about it lah. So it's data. Your data remains secure, right? Okay, so it needs to work end to end, right? So that the security is provided the moment it leaves your whatever you figure out is your secure trusted device, right? So if you want the security to be like end to end in terms of host, so the VPN client should be on the host, and then even inside your local area network is already encrypted. Okay, device as the end to end, right? But if you trust your local area network, so therefore you want to provide transparent VPN security, then you will employ VPN onto the router. So the router, any outgoing traffic will be encrypted. Any incoming traffic, if it's from another VPN router, then it will be decrypted. Okay, so that when it enters the LAN, it is in plain text. Right? All right. So it's as if we always say it's private network, private network is actually, you can look at it as logically private over a public network, right? And it's private because simply unauthorized users cannot, or unauthorized people cannot view the content because it's encrypted. Okay, so modern VPNs now support encryption features, right? Such as IPsec and SSL. Okay, SSL is the one that we use certificate, right? So that means you have to, in order for you to trust the other party, you want the other party must give you a certificate, right? And if you want to trust the other party, you get that certificate and you ask a third party. The third party is the one you basically trusting. Okay, you trust the third party. Okay, the third party is well known to be someone or organization that is trustworthy. Okay, but the thing is, you're not sure about the other part, right? The other host. So you ask the host. Okay, for SSL, you ask the host, can you give me your cert to prove that you are who you say you are? When you so the other host give you the SSL, the certificate. So you get the certificate, then of course you don't know whether the certificate is valid or not. You would then ask a third party, hey third party, okay, you arbitrate this. Is this true? This cert is it valid? Is it you know can be trusted? Okay, and then whether the other host can be trusted or not, depending on the certificate. If the third party said the certificate is okay, then you can trust that host. If the third party said, oh, this something wrong with it, then you don't trust that host, then you stop communicating with that host. That is the SSL. And this is the implementation for HTTPS, right? Right. So benefits. Okay, benefits will be cost saving, obviously, because you want to make use of public network. Public network is usually free, like the internet. You don't want to lease a line. Okay, lease line is expensive, right? You don't mind sharing. Okay, don't mind sharing because nowadays even sharing bandwidth, also the bandwidth is so fast that it's still okay for you. The only worry is the whether it's secure or not. But in terms of cost, you make a lot of saving, right? Can compare. If you can find out the metro, just know that metro is usually a lease line. Compare the lease line option against monthly normal connectivity to the internet. Nowadays, even Unify, they provide up to 800 gigabits per second. That's right, 800 megabits per second. Later, 5G comes in, even higher, even faster, right? But they are all operating on the internet, which means it's not secure, right? So VPN provides us cost saving, allowing us to use the internet to communicate remotely with our other sites, okay? Or our remote worker want to connect to our corporate network. And this is where VPN basically handles the security part. VPN has encryption feature and authentication protocol, right? So this settle the problem of the security. Next is scalable. Uh, in terms of scalability, means because it works basically on the internet, right? Works on the internet. So it doesn't matter how many people you want to have a virtual private network with, you'll be able to handle it. The internet will be able to handle it. Um, so because we're not talking about the server that, let's say you provide a server inside your corporate network and all the user want to connect to it. We're not talking about that part. We're talking about the implementation of VPN. It's scalable, right? So if for VPN purpose, if you add new VPN users, right, it's no problem, right? You can have as many users as you want, and to use the VPN, um, it won't drastically affect anything about your um, you know connectivity. So it's scalable, right? And the fourth benefit is compatibility. So it's compatible with many or whatever network link options, including broadband technologies. So um, IPsec, I think IPsec works on a certain layer, but SSL go all the way up to application layer, right? And VPN client is implemented application layer. So as long as this implementation is a standard, it's a protocol, it's actually making use of current, making use and also working with current available protocols, right? Therefore, it is compatible, right? Right. Okay, so look at the site-to-site and remote access VPN. Site-to-site, basically, the VPN client is here at the VPN gateway. It's at the router, right? So the devices inside the network, okay, don't have to worry about security. They don't even know because the whatever message they transmit, okay, outside the LAN will be transparently encrypted before the message is forwarded out. Therefore, for the client inside the local area network, they don't even have to do anything about security. They don't have to do encryption. That VPN gateway basically handles all the encryption here. Of course, you can encrypt here, then of course double encryption already lah, right? But even if you miss out, okay, you send something which is not encrypted, okay, it's going to travel through the internet where a lot of people may open it up, right? Capture that message and open it up or try tamper with it, right? So here the gateway at the router, site to site means at the router with the other router, a VPN gateway at the other router, right? Is the one that's going to do the encryption, decryption. So it can be transparent to the client. Internal hosts have no knowledge of that a VPN is being used. Okay. So the other type is remote access. Remote access, basically, you don't have a router here, VPN. So that means the onus or the responsibility of in creating a secure communication is on the client itself. The client must have a VPN client software that performs the encryption and communicates with the VPN gateway or VPN server, right? Okay. So if you talk about SSL encryption, that means your browser. Okay, your browser is the one that's going to encrypt any communication. Okay, HTTP communication between itself with the web server. Right. Okay, so VPNs can be managed and deployed as enterprise VPNs. Enterprise VPNs, basically the VPNs is under your own responsibility. Enterprise here means your large company, right? Your large company is the one going to deploy VPN, use VPN, maintain the VPN, right? So usually you can, as an enterprise, you can do site-to-site or remote access, of course, right? And you might use IPsec or SSL VPNs, right? Or you might, okay, you might get the service package from the service provider, where the part of the package is that it's a secure communication. So in that sense, it's the service provider, okay, that is going to provide the VPN capability. That means you don't, as an enterprise, you may want to do, okay, to double lah, but once you understand that the service provider maybe have some kind of service and secure service, then you go for that. And then that means you don't have to worry. As an enterprise, you don't have to worry about security anymore. Okay, because the service provider will handle it for you. Okay, so that means the provider will use MPLS, which work at layer 2 or layer 3, to create secure channels between the enterprise sites. Okay, using MPLS means because service provider is the one that is in charge of the infrastructure. So the service provider, by using MPLS, is able to segregate the customer traffic from each other. So if the traffic doesn't flow through another, together with the other customers' traffic, right? Then there's no way for you to be able to sniff any traffic rather than yours because it's separated, right? So that is the multi-protocol label switching. Okay, logically it works like the lease line, right? But that's physical. This one is logical. Okay, so you can see here, MPLS is a routing technology the provider uses to create virtual path between sites. Okay, so logically, even though it's virtual, they all are the traffic, yeah, is segregated. So this what we talk about is summarized here. Site-to-site VPNs include IPsec VPN, GRE over IPsec, and we have Cisco Dynamic Multi-Point Virtual Private Network, working on, I think, Cisco router, IPsec Virtual Tunnel Interface, site-to-site, yeah, right? So all these are implemented at the router side. Remote access VPNs means you can run your software, your own software. It could be your VPN client software, or the SSL capability of your browser using the HTTPS protocol. Okay, that is the SSL connection. Okay, if you're looking at service provider managed VPNs, usually it's either layer 2 MPLS or layer 3 MPLS. Okay, legacy solution last time was frame delay or ATM, but no longer lah. So nowadays in modern networks will be these two. Okay. All right. So I'm looking at the. Let me just check type of VPN. I think we can complete this, right? Just now we already have a what? Yeah. So only two section. Okay. 8.2 types of VPNs and IPsec 8.3. Right. So we're just gonna continue because just now we have a short break just now, right? After we finish this lecture, we should get another short break and then we continue with tutorial. Right?
Okay.
Let's look at types of VPNs. Right. So remote access VPNs. This is usually how you allow your remote workers, your work from home workers, to connect to your enterprise network, the local area network, okay, your corporate network inside, right? So remote access VPNs are typically enabled dynamically by the user when required. That means physically I run in my system, in my computer, I run a VPN software, a VPN client software. Then using my VPN client software, I log in, I must have the authentication, of course. It will connect to your VPN server software at your corporate network, right? To access your corporate network. Once authenticated, I'm allowed to go in, right? Go in and use as if I'm sitting in front of a computer inside the corporate network. Okay, and all my communication after authentication will be encrypted. Okay, so two types of method for VPNs: IPsec or SSL. Right? So clientless VPN connection means I don't have to run a client. I don't have to run a VPN client. When I use my browser and I use the HTTPS, okay, the secure HTTP version, then it will automatically create a VPN connection. It will be using SSL security. Okay. Now the client-based VPN, right? Example will be VPN client software, such as Cisco AnyConnect Secure Mobility Client, has to be installed because it's in the application. It runs at the application layer. Must be installed on the remote user and device. Okay, so not to say that this is the only VPN software, right? Of course, we are doing we're studying Cisco network, so they provide this example, but there are many VPN software out there, right? Okay, so let's have a look at SSL VPNs first. Okay, so SSL uses public key infrastructure. Actually, it's public and private, but not sure whether I'm not sure this one-way encryption or reversible encryption. But SSL use public key infrastructure means there's a public key you encrypt and uh, you encrypt it using public key, and then I will use my private key to open it, right? And the digital certificates, basically, the ones, the scenario that I mentioned to you guys earlier on, right? If I don't know whether I trust the other host, then I ask third party to certify this certificate from that host. Okay, because the thing is, this is to solve the phishing or the fake fake website. For example, if you're doing online banking, you go to Maybank. Okay, Maybank already go to this third party and say, I want to purchase a digital certificate unique to me, Maybank. Right? So Maybank got the cert, right? So only Maybank website will have that cert. Okay, so I'm trying to access Maybank website. Then Maybank website, oh, okay, hang on. Um, I see you are using HTTPS. So HTTPS means you want secure. So let me give you my cert. So I grab the cert. I go to the third party, say, oh, is it true? This cert really issued by you and this is correct? Then the third party say, okay. Then I trust that website because only that site is actually Maybank. Will the site have the Maybank digital certificate? Of course, we all assume all the sites will keep their cert secure, right? Okay. And then let's say it's a phishing website, right? It looks exactly like Maybank. So I'm not sure. So I want to connect using SSL. So I ask for cert, right? And of course, either they don't have or if they don't have, that means if you type HTTPS, then it gives you 404. If they have, then I take the cert, then I ask the third party, the third party will give me a report, will warn me, right? Will warn me what is wrong with that cert. Something is wrong with the cert. whatever it is, that I'll get feedback from the third party. What I see in my website is that my website is and my web browser is warning me about that cert, right? So I have to make decisions. And I see that something is wrong with that cert. Okay, do I still want to proceed or not? Usually, if you see warning about cert, don't proceed yet, especially if it involve online banking or transfer money or whatever involving any problem that can bring problem if you're compromised, right? Okay, so here the table shows us a comparison between IPsec and SSL. And the features supported by IPsec and SSL. Right. So first, application supported for IPsec. This is VPN client. Extensive mean it will protect any or all IP-based application. Okay. It will not selectively encrypt. It will encrypt any or all IP-based application. What about SSL? Limited, because SSL is actually for use on the web. The protocol is HTTPS, right? So here limited, only web-based application and file sharing. What about authentication strength? For IPsec is very strong, two-way authentication with shared keys or digital certificate, right? SSL, one-way or two-way authentication only, right? And then encryption strength, IPsec very strong, key lengths between 56 and 256 bits. All right. Moderate to strong, key length 40 to 256 bits. The more bits, okay, the harder to crack. Okay, the harder for the hacker to crack the encryption, the higher the number of bits used. Connection complexity, well, we need the VPN client and the application to be installed on the host machine, right? So medium complexity, as long as you know how to install the VPN client, then you can, and how to run it, then okay lah. SSL, complexity is very low because the user don't even have to do anything. The browser handles everything. Okay, the moment you connect to let's say bank, you don't even have to type HTTPS, right? By default, banking web app will be running on HTTPS. If your bank allow you to access it by HTTP, okay, for online banking, then something is wrong. Something is wrong. So actually, it should be the moment you go to like Maybank online banking, straight away it will use HTTPS. Okay, so no nothing that the user need to do. Okay, connection option for IPsec limited, only specific device with specific configuration can connect. Well, because it has to be, the stack has to go up to it to application layer, right? To install the VPN client and to run the VPN client. Those are only specific devices with specific configuration can connect, right? But SSL, as long as the device support a web browser, okay already, because web browser support HTTPS, right? So as long as your device has a web browser, can already. The web browser is the one that supports SSL. Okay. Right. Site-to-site IPsec VPNs. Site-to-site VPNs connect networks across an untrusted network such as the internet. End hosts send and receive normal unencrypted TCP traffic through a VPN gateway. So it means the VPN gateway already decrypted the encrypted traffic. So once it passed through your VPN gateway, the traffic now is unencrypted and no need for the client to do anything. Again, the security part is handled by the VPN gateway. So all the encryption, decryption is handled by them. So the security is transparent. All the hosts basically will get security in terms of their communication will be encrypted and decrypted properly. They don't have to do anything at their end. Okay? So you can see receiving VPN gateway strips the headers, decrypts the content. Decrypts mean turn it back from encrypted content to plain content. Okay, and then forwards or relay the packet towards the target host within its private network. This one, a lot of enterprise go for this one. You know why? Because if you depend on the user to do it for you, the user may be lacking in terms of using the password for authentication, or the user forgot to install, or the user forgot to already install VPN, user forgot to run the VPN software. A lot of things can go wrong. So a lot of enterprise, they do the VPN encryption themselves. Any traffic going out will pass through it, will be encrypted. Okay, any incoming traffic that is encrypted from the other VPN gateway will be decrypted before passed on to the host inside its LAN. So transparent. Right, GRE over IPsec, generic routing encapsulation. GRE is a non-secure site-to-site VPN tunneling protocol. This is non-secure, but it's used for tunneling. A GRE tunnel can encapsulate. So what is tunneling? Before we proceed, tunneling is encapsulating another protocol within your own protocol. Okay, so the protocol you hide, you encapsulate doesn't even know that you encapsulated it. Okay, only you know, you are the one encapsulating that protocol. Okay, only you know that you encapsulate it. Later when it reach somewhere destination, perhaps you de-encapsulate. So the protocol that's being encapsulated doesn't even know that it's being encapsulated. Why call it tunnel? Because in order for, let's say you travel from one point to one point, in order for whoever is traveling through, right, cannot be seen. So you create a tunnel. So people outside the tunnel cannot see you travel, who is traveling inside the tunnel or how many people. If without a tunnel you walk, people can straight see, ooh, 2, 3, 4 person walking. Okay, that's Farah. Oh yeah, Farah. I can see Farah is Noel and Kelvin walking, right? So if you tunnel, basically you create a tunnel. The tunnel is not transparent, right? So you try to see inside the tunnel, you cannot see who is that, who is walking inside there, right? So that's the idea, or that's why it's called tunnel, right? Something inside the tunnel is hidden, no matter what you transfer inside the tunnel, but it still reach the other point, the other side. Okay. So a GRE packet can be encapsulated into an IPsec. Before that, this one. GRE does not by default support encryption. So GRE, generic routing encapsulation. So you can see its routing purpose. So by default, it does not support encryption, right? So GRE does not provide secure VPN tunnel. But you can provide encryption by encapsulating a GRE packet into an IPsec packet. So IPsec packet encapsulate GRE packet. Okay. So once you do that, IPsec, of course, encapsulating that GRE packet will encrypt it so it can be forwarded securely to destination VPN gateway. So we have, we also have standard IPsec VPNs, which is non-GRE based and can only create secure tunnel for unicast traffic. Okay. The other type is the encapsulating GRE into IPsec allows multicast routing protocol updates to be secure through a VPN. All right. So that means it has support for multiple multicast. Sorry, multicast. All right. The terms used to describe encapsulation of GRE over IPsec tunnel are passenger protocol, carrier protocol, and transport protocol. Right? So I have to look. The passenger protocol is basically your original PDU lah. You go data, TCP is transport layer protocol, and then layer 3, yeah. And so this is your passenger protocol. Okay, and then you have GRE, which is the carrier protocol. Okay, it will encapsulate the original passenger packet. So this becomes the data. Now the whole PDU is GRE as the header plus passenger. So carrier plus passenger. But GRE doesn't encrypt. It's providing routing. You can see here, generic routing encapsulation. Okay, so we need the IPsec, which is the transport protocol. Okay. Oh, hang on. This is IP, which is similar as this one. Sorry, because once you encapsulate this one, you need IP header. Okay, transport protocol. Yes. Hang on, yeah. Yes, IP with GRE. This is GRE. Then you got IPsec. So it's shown here. Okay, GRE over IPsec, right? So you can see we have this one is the packet to be shared between routers for routing protocol. Okay, routing protocol. So routing protocol here is OSPF. So let's say our data is OSPF packet. Okay, it's encapsulated by GRE to provide security so that no one can see inside. We then encapsulate using IPsec, right? So you can see here. Okay, so we will be using IPsec VPN tunnel to carry our OSPF packet. Okay, the thing is OSPF is, I think, multicast. So we use the multicast capability of GRE. Okay, because if you just encapsulate using IPsec, IPsec doesn't provide that. IPsec provide the encryption. So to encrypt this, you need the GRE here provide the multicast routing. Okay, and then IPsec here means it provides some features for encrypting the content. Right? So here's a tunnel. You can see why it's called a tunnel. See, original IP packet is basically all three of you walking here. I can see, plain and simple. I can see you guys. Then GRE, if GRE no encryption, basically you cover the original IP packet, means you guys walk into a tunnel that is transparent. Still can see because it's transparent, made of glass or plastic. Then if I enclose you guys with the another layer which is opaque, okay, then I cannot see you guys. Means the IPsec is the encrypting, right? So basically all the data here, okay. I have to find out whether GRE is also encrypted. I think this one is encrypted, right? So it's encrypted, and represents the original data, okay? But it's encrypted way lah. So any information for the encryption will be stored here lah, IPsec header, VPN header. All right, so site-to-site IPsec VPNs and GRE over IPsec are not sufficient when the enterprise adds many more sites. Okay, so we need to have a specific implementation that can scale up lah. So dynamic multi-point VPN is a Cisco software solution for building multiple VPNs in an easy, dynamic, and scalable manner. Right. So basically, it supports many sites. Right. So DMVPN simplifies the VPN tunnel configuration and provides a flexible option to connect the central site with many branches. It uses hub and spoke configuration to establish a full mesh topology. Spoke sites establish secure VPN tunnels with the hub site. So we talk about the configuration of hub and spoke, right? Where hub is a central, and then spoke is, for example, like this, and then the spoke. Okay, right. So this is basically a topology. If you think about a private network, private LAN as a topology, but you basically duplicate this as a logical topology as your private network on internet. This is what it means here. Okay, they deploy hub and spoke, but in a virtual manner, right? Um, the thing is, I think here, yeah, here this part. Spoke sites can also obtain information about each other and ultimately build direct tunnels between themselves. So means I have a possibility to create direct link with each other. Okay, right? With this part. So not only it can do hub and spoke, but it can also do spoke to spoke. All right. Right. IPsec Virtual Tunnel Interface, or VTI, simplifies our configuration process required to support multiple sites and remote access. IPsec VTI configuration are applied to virtual interface instead of static mapping the IPsec session to a physical interface. It's capable of sending and receiving both IP unicast and multicast encrypted traffic. Therefore, routing protocols are automatically supported without us having to configure GRE tunnels. Okay, so before we need the routing capability of GRE for multicast. That's why we put GRE first and then we put IPsec. But if you're using IPsec with VTI, right, IPsec VTI is able to do multicast also. Okay, at the same time being encrypted, you also can do multicast. So in that situation, if you use IPsec VTI, then you don't have to use GRE. That means you can drop the GRE part, right? So IPsec VTI can be configured between sites and in a hub and spoke topology, right? Right. So that is the enterprise part. So here is the service provider part. Okay, and this one is transparent to the enterprise. Even the enterprise do not have, let's say lah, they don't have the manpower, they just don't have security, VPN or otherwise, so they all depend on the service provider. In fact, for our main campus, um I think it's not the same lah, but what our intranet, okay, connecting between branches and main campus, we are using SSL. Okay, our ways of connecting securely, is via SSL, right? So we are not using the IPsec because we don't use any other services unless, imagine if our campus have a very powerful supercomputer or high performance computing platform, right? And it's available inside main campus local area network. Okay, so how about us? We in Sabah, we want to use that machine as well. Okay, For that kind of scenario, we cannot use browser, because browser we access intranet, SSL, that's fine. That is the SSL part of the VPN. To use the high performance computer the way we say we want to use, as if we are inside the main campus local area network, right? We have to use VPN, right? That's where we use the IPsec. We don't need to use GRA if we don't need multicasting. We use GRA when there's multicasting requirement. But we have to use that. We have to use a VPN client to connect to VPN server, and then we can be connected to one of the hosts, right, inside the main campus LAN, or one of the virtual machine, okay, virtual machine operating system, whatever, inside a server there. Right? Then it may be that high performance computer. It's as if we are in front of it. We just you know connect through a terminal. Okay, so that's one scenario lah. Okay, for us right now, we only need to use SSL because we don't have such kind of services available to us in main campus, so we don't need the VPN client. All right, so from the point of view service provider, the enterprise don't need to do anything. So the service provider probably will say, okay, we provide a secure, network capability for your company, even if you don't encrypt. Okay, even if you don't impose any regulation procedure to secure your computing, we can do it for you. So this is called service provider MPLS VPNs. So they just need to use this MPLS in their network, right? And then the traffic that is forwarded using MPLS backbone will be indicated by labels. Traffic will be secure because their customers will not be able to see each other's traffic. But the thing is, if if it's traveling through the service provider network, and the service provider is using MPLS, then that's fine. As long as your traffic is within that service provider network, okay, then it's okay. The worry is if the traffic leaves your service provider network and go into another, which is cross-border. And if the other service provider, which is beyond our nation border, does not use MPLS, then suddenly your traffic become exposed, right? MPLS can provide client with managed VPN solution. Therefore, securing traffic within client side becomes the responsibility of the service provider. No longer enterprise need to do, but the service provider have to do it for them. All right, so there are two types, layer 3 and layer 2 MPLS VPN. The first one, okay, the service provider participate in customer routing by establishing a peering within the customer's router and provider's router. So this is customer router. So peering with the service provider's router. Okay. All right. So means there's a boundary lah. There's a boundary. But the other way is to basically connect between the service provider and the customer's network, okay, via Ethernet multi-access LAN segment. So as if both their network in the same let's say this, in the same network lah. See, you can see here, no routing is involved. So no routing means your customer's network and you as a service provider network is inside the same network, okay, connected via Ethernet multi-access LAN segment. over the MPLS network, right? So no routing is involved because they are not two separate network. Okay, so in this example, the customer's routers effectively belong to the same multi-access network. Okay, so that's layer 2 MPLS VPN. Okay, so whichever way the service provider want to implement lah, whether it's layer 3 or layer 2. Right, so let's go to the last section, which is IPsec itself, section 8.3. Right, so there's a video. Okay, I want you guys to view the video yourself. You can access the video in NetAcad, right? Online NetAcad. So the video will show the purpose of IPsec and the different types of IPsec protocol. Right, so what is IPsec? IPsec is an IETF standard. So you know IETF is an organization body again. It's a standard that defines how a VPN can be secured across IP networks. Okay, IPsec protects and authenticates IP packets between source and destination, and provide the list here down here, essential security functions. First of all, is confidentiality. This means, in terms of security, okay, to prevent third party to read contents of the packet, okay, by scrambling the packet content using encryption algorithm. Okay, example 100 is transformed via encryption to becoming 4EH. Okay, usually it can be reversed using decryption algorithms to get back the original message. Okay, second, it provides integrity. Integrity means tamper-proof. Okay, you want to be sure the packet contents is the original packet contents and not being tampered by anybody. And for this, you need to use hashing algorithms. Okay, hashing algorithms make sure that the packet contents have not been changed or altered during its transport between source to destination. Okay, so two different things. This one encrypt, this one make sure it's tamper-proof. And then the third is origin authentication. Okay, uses the IKE protocol to authenticate the source and destination, means the IP address, right, of the packet. Okay, so that no one can inject something in and then to carry false information saying that it's from Maybank, right? Okay, so origin authentication. And lastly, fourth is that Diffie-Hellman. It's a method to use to secure key exchange. Okay, part of the exchange is to exchange the public key, so that part of the usage in the encryption algorithm. But how to secure the key exchange? So using Diffie-Hellman method. You can see here public key exchange method for two peers to establish a shared secret key. Right? It's like this. I send you a box. Okay, I lock it with a key. Then I'm sending it to Noel. Noel received the box, but it's locked. So how do I share my key to Noel? Okay, so that Noel can also have the key to open the box. Whereas the key may be, if I send it via normal post, someone else can open the key. And if they stop the box, they can take the box, they can take my key and open it. So how to do it? So we're not going to go deep into encryption, but if you're interested, check out Diffie-Hellman. Okay, this algorithm, this person created the algorithm to do secure key exchange. Right. So for IKE, indicated here, Internet Key Exchange Protocol. Right, so type of authentication, username and password, one-time password, biometric, pre-shared keys, and digital certificate using reverse Shamir and Alderman RSA algorithm. This is a famous algorithm to encrypt, right? Okay. All right. So you can see here many different level. Okay. We already seen the confidentiality, integrity, authentication, and Diffie-Hellman. Right. So IPsec protocol have different choices. AH as ESP, SPH plus AH. The whole thing is a framework. For confidentiality, you can choose the DES, 3DES, AES, and SEAL, right? And then for integrity, for hashing, to check whether the content is tampered or not, you can use MD5 or SHA. These are hashing algorithm. It produces a long series of symbols. Okay, if the content has been changed, the long list of symbol reproduced will be different. So you know something is changed in the content already, right? The hashing. And then internet key exchange, you have PSK and RSA, and Diffie-Hellman, you got DH1, 2, 3, 4, 5 padlock, right? So step by step, you choose the IPsec protocol encapsulation is the first building block of the framework. Okay, you can either use authentication header or encapsulation security protocol. Okay, the choice of edge or SP establishes which other building blocks are available. So which one you choose will affect what you can choose later. Okay, so it says AH is appropriate only when confidentiality is not required or permitted. All text is transported unencrypted. If you want encrypted, then you have to use ESP. ESP provides both confidentiality and authentication. So degree of confidentiality depends on the encryption algorithm and the length of the key used in the encryption algorithm. So encryption algorithm is usually the same, right? But if you use different key, then then the encryption output will be different, right? So usually longer keys will be more secure because there's many more different ways to encrypt. So very difficult to decrypt. So you can see here, number of possibilities to try to hack a key is a function of the length of the key. The shorter the key, the easier to break. So if you give longer keys, then it's harder to break, right? Confidentiality is in encrypt, right? So all of these are symmetric key crypto system. Why? Different with your password. Your password is asymmetric, means you encrypt and there's no way back. You cannot decrypt anymore. That's why the only option is to replace your password. Okay, you encrypt using a key, then your password will be stored in the as a value. Okay, there's no way from that value, the encrypted value go back to your password. That's one-way encryption. That is asymmetric encryption, which means if you want to know, you just use the encryption function, put in the key. If your key is correct, you get the same encrypted value. If it's not the same, then your password is wrong. Okay, but here we're talking about data. Data needs to be reversible. Once you encrypt, you must be able to decrypt it so that you can get back the original message. So it must be symmetric. So all the available options are all symmetric key crypto system. So we have DES that uses 56-bit key. 3DS is using 3 independent 56-bit encryption keys per 64-bit block. AES offer 3 different key lengths, 128, 192, and 256. Seal is a stream cipher, so it encrypts data continuously rather than encrypting blocks of data. And Seal uses 160-bit key. So I think if you are not using a stream cipher, I think AES is the most secure when you take 256 bits. But if you're encrypting a stream, then you have to use Seal still good with 160-bit key. Right? Next, we look at integrity. Means data has not been tampered with, has not changed during transit while it's traveling from sender to destination. A method of proving data integrity is required. So we use hash message authentication code, HMAC, as a data integrity algorithm that guarantees the integrity of the message using a hash value. So there are two methods to come up with a hash value. MD5 or message digest 5 is using 128-bit shared secret key, or you can also use secure hash algorithm or SHA, which uses 160-bit secret key. Right? I think this one SHA is more uh, it's better compared to the message because just simply because of the key is longer. But this one, to you produce a hash, right? To produce a hash, if the data has been sorry, the data has been changed or tampered with, then the hash value generated, whether you use this MD5 or SHA, will be different. So you know, when it's different, the hash value is different, then something is wrong. Some corruption or someone has already changed the content, right? So this is used to maintain data integrity. Okay, the next one is authentication. There are two way for peer authentication method. Pre-shared key, right? Is value is entered into each peer manually, easy to configure manually. Does not scale well, must be configured on every peer. Okay, pre-shared key. That means everyone use the same key. So I enter, if I have two computers, I have to put the key into the two computers. Then the two computers communication will be secure. Okay, so that means we'll be challenged lah if you challenge for authentication, right? The second way is the using RSA reverse. This is the name of people who created this or designed this kind of authentication. Reverse Shamir and Edelman, so RSA for short. So you use digital certificate to authenticate the peers. Each peer must authenticate its opposite peer before the tunnel is considered secure. Again, how do you authenticate certificate you as a third party? Okay. If I ask the other host to give me cert, the other host maybe also doesn't trust me, also ask me to give the cert. Right. So we exchange cert. And both of us will check the cert for authenticity. But once we are both satisfied, then we can proceed with the connection. The communication path will be secure. Right. The last one is the Diffie-Hellman, where we need to perform as exchange of a key securely. Right. So DH provides an allowance for two peers to establish a shared secret key over an insecure channel. Right. So we have to. I don't think they go into deep detail about the algorithm of DH. You have to go and check yourself, right? If you want to know more further about the algorithm itself. But basically, we have many types of variation of DH key exchange, right? Specified by DH group. So we have 1, 2, and 5. Actually, I think that one is no longer secure. That's why I say no longer be used. DH groups 14, 15, and 16 use larger key size. 14 is 2048 bits, 15, 3072 bits, and 16 at 4096 bits. So these groups 19, 20, 21, and 24 with respective key size of 256, 384, 521, and 2048 bits. It supports elliptical curve cryptography. The name of that, again, the name is basically describing the way the encryption happens, right? So you can see the elliptical curve cryptography. This reduces the time that is needed to generate the key. All right, so another video Okay, a video IPsec transport and tunnel mode. Please do go online and view this video. Okay, so we reached the end. Okay, so I'll stop recording first. Any question? Yeah,
No question.
no question. All right, so I'm going to show you guys. Yeah, stop this first. So I've shared the tutorial for this week, last week, and this week. Okay, so here, DHCP version 4, and this week's wide area network concepts. Okay, so I shared already number. Oops, it's number 7. Where's DHCP? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, DHCP 4 version 4 and one concept. Okay, I already shared with you guys. So you can start doing on those two. All right. So you guys are going to be you're going to campus tomorrow. Noel and Kelvin.
Oh, so as
Are you going? You're going to campus tomorrow, huh, Noel?
no,
No. Who's going to campus tomorrow? Is it Kelvin?
No.
No. Farah?
No.
Hmm? How come I got message? Who messaged me? Going to campus.
maybe group
Maybe
two.
group 2.
Oh, group 2 is it? Okay, okay. I'll check. I'll check it out. Mm, okay. I really thought I have to check lah with the other group. Okay, so tomorrow our practical still online, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So if you want to have a short break, go to toilet or not, up to you. You can go ahead, but you can do this tutorial. Okay. With this one, T6 first and then T7. Okay.
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 All right.
So
Sir?
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
The
Sorry.
exam later is for group 2 only, not us, right?
Yeah. You guys already done your MTT.
Yeah, just
This
double
one
check.
is yeah. This one is for G2. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Kelvin, Noel, and Farah.
Okay, thank you, sir.